Think about moving to El Salvador, whether you're here for Bitcoin freedom, the beaches, safety, security, and freedom like us, or you're coming home. I've got answers to the most common questions foreigners and diaspora ask before making the big move. Let's dive in. Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y bendiciones para todos ustedes. Good afternoon, my friends, and blessings to you all. My name is Charity Hagenaars, and bienvenido a mi canal if you're new here, y bienvenido de nuevo if we're already old amigos. Si no habla inglés, ve a la configuración de YouTube y selecciona pista de audio para escuchar este video en español, o presiona el botón CC para obtener subtítulos en español. If you regularly enjoy this content, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button, as it helps the algorithm get this content out to more people. Number one frequently asked question: as a foreigner, do I need a visa to live in El Salvador? Now, most foreigners can enter on a 180-day tourist visa. You need to make sure that your country can enter with no special visa requirements by checking the El Salvador government website, which is rree.gov.sv/visas. Enter your country and type a passport, and it will advise you. Now, you can extend your stay or do border runs, but if you're planning long term, you'll want to look at residency options. Now, a border run needs to be outside of the CA4, and that's outside Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, as your tourist visa gives you free access to these countries, so you need to go past them to restart your 180-day tourist visa. Common paths for temporary residency available in El Salvador. Now, this is based on recent laws and migration regulations, according to ChatGPT, with a disclaimer that please check with a residency lawyer or government websites, as these things are changing all the time, and this video is being released September 20th, 2025, so if you're watching it later, please go and check those things out. So the first type of residency in El Salvador could be a temporary residency with permission to work, and that's for foreigners being hired by a Salvadoran company or those who do specialized or technical work. Another one could be transnational service workers. Now, that's a foreigner who's temporarily sent by a company abroad to work in El Salvador while still being employed by the company abroad. You can get an investor temporary residency. That's for foreigners who invest in or are founders/representatives of companies in El Salvador. You could be a pensioner with temporary residency, and that's for retirees who receive pension income and want to live in El Salvador. Usually you're not allowed to work under that visa, and that's basically you're getting your Social Security from the United States or from your Canadian pension. You're getting that as foreign income, and you're able to live here without working with that type of residency. Another one's called a rentista. That is temporary residency for people that have enough passive income, like maybe you're renting your house in your home country, or you got some remote work going on there, remote business, or investments that you're getting money from. These are for people who don't need to or want to work locally. You're just getting that passive income coming in. Another one will be a business person or like a commercial representative temporary residency. That's for people who are managing businesses or representing businesses in El Salvador, sometimes for trading or commercial roles. Another one is shareholder/individual trader temporary residency. And that's for shareholders in companies or individual traders or sole proprietors. They meet certain financial thresholds and they can get that residency. And student residency, of course, that's for people studying in Salvadorian institutions. There's also the accompanying temporary residency, and that's for family members or dependents of someone who has one of the other temporary residencies. Like our children have this one because GJ and I have one of the other temporary residencies. There's also ones for victims of trafficking. That's for people who are victims under certain humanitarian protections that can get that residency here in El Salvador. Another one is humanitarian/refugee temporary residency. That's for people needing protection or with humanitarian reasons. There's one for religious/missionaries temporary residency. That's for, of course, religious workers or missionaries that come to El Salvador. Now, we paid $140 per person last year to get a 1-year temporary residency, and that will renew again in October. Now, this time we can renew for up to 2 years, and I think it's a bit discounted, so I don't think it's actually double $140 per person. I think it's like $20 cheaper than that, but I'll find out soon. Now, here are some common documents that you typically need when you're applying for your residency, depending on which residency you're getting exactly. Now, always check with the latest migration authority or legal expert, because requirements can vary, case by case or change with new laws. Now, the first common document, of course, is your passport. Now, you need to make sure that you have at least 6 months left on your passport. Of course, it has to be a valid passport in that case, and it has to be an original passport. Now, it's good to have copies of the pages because we didn't have copies. So what happened when I got to the migration office, they actually took photocopies of the pages with stamps on them, and I had to pay for the photocopies. So if you come with photocopies, you save yourself a couple bucks. Next thing you'll need is birth certificates, and they have to be apostilled or legalized, possibly also authenticated by a Salvadorian consulate. This just proves your identity and citizenship. It's required for almost all categories. Now, we didn't need this one for us yet, but I believe with either a permanent residency or citizenship, we will need our birth certificates. We did need them for the children. You'll need your criminal record or police check clearance certificate with fingerprints. Usually ours was done by the RCMP. Then they had to be apostilled. So make sure you have the record check and it's apostilled. In the United States, it's with the FBI, and you take it to your, local somewhere to get it apostilled. So this just is for everyone who's over 18 years old. They'll need to have this when coming to El Salvador to apply for temporary residency. You'll need proof of financial means or support. If you're claiming to be a pensioner, you have to show that you have a pension. It could be your bank statements or your salary certificates if you got a remote job income coming in, or income proof of a sponsor or investments, or the lease you have with somebody who's renting your house in your home country. Whatever it is, you'll need to prove that you have ways to look after yourself here, depending on the type of residency. Now, we started our business here, but it hadn't made any money yet because we kind of started it in 2023 while we're still in Canada, and we didn't actually get anything really operational. We almost got operational now. It's just about there. And we had all the paperwork from, we would call those the articles of incorporation in Canada for the business. And then because when a business is operational or like legitimized here, every month you got to file taxes with the hacienda, even if it's just a nil tax return. So I had all those, the taxation filing that was done every month by our accountant. I also showed those when we were going to apply for a residency to show that we had our business and it was up and running, technically at least, and that we were filing paperwork and doing everything legally. You might need a work contract if you're applying for one of those types of residencies. You might just show that you have a contract to work here, and any other company legal documents that you might need for that. For business investment documentation, like if you're an investor or you have company registration, proof of that, whatever. Registration of foreign capital. You might need your marriage certificate, apostilled or authenticated, if you're applying as a spouse or family dependent. You need to prove your relationship with the person who is the one getting the residency, especially if you're coming with your spouse that is Salvadorian and you are a diaspora. You need to have that, marriage registered here in El Salvador, and you could get that apostilled in the country that you're coming from right now. Now, because GJ and I both filed that we're part of the business, we didn't need a marriage certificate because I'm not like dependent on him. He's not dependent on me. We're both working in the business. We didn't need to have the actual marriage certificate apostilled, although we had paid for that anyway. They didn't use it. So I still have that. Now, of course, you need the birth certificates of the children, if you have any, because they are the ones who are getting their residency based on the fact that it's accompanying your temporary residency. And one thing that you'll need to get is a tax identification number, or what we lovingly call the NIT. It's both for the applicant and possibly for the company. And we had to get one for our company as well. Or, if you're with your employer or sponsor, maybe you need to have their NIT as well. So we needed to get these to get our business started in 2023. So we actually had those a long time ago for ourselves, and then the business itself has its own NIT. I think we paid like $2 for these, or maybe that was to get them laminated or something like that. Very inexpensive. Maybe it was free and then the lamination was $2. You might need a certificate of solvency or proof that you're not indebted or legally problematic in El Salvador. Sometimes you need this from the local police. If you've been in and out of El Salvador a bunch of times, you might need to have something to say you didn't like rip someone off when you were here last time. And you might need special power of attorney in some cases if somebody else is helping you do the paperwork and handling the whole process for you with immigration. You'll have to sign over your power of attorney for that. Now, kids' report cards. If you're coming here with children that you're not homeschooling, then you need to get their latest report cards apostilled before coming here. It will save you a lot of hassle with public and private schools here in El Salvador. Everything in El Salvador gets apostilled. I think it's actually free for citizens or really inexpensive to get documents apostilled here. So they only recognize this type of verification of documents, probably due to like crime or forgery in the past. And when you get them done in Canada or the US or any other country, they're really expensive to get done. And they're not very common. I never even heard of them until I came here. For example, to get Annika into Catholic school in Canada, I needed GJ's baptismal certificate from the Netherlands. And then all we had to do was get it in an email and from the church who did the baptism and give it to the school. There was no authentication required, as in no one ever asked for apostille documents in Canada. But here, everyone asks for apostille documents. Frequently asked question number 2, is El Salvador safe? Safety has improved drastically in recent years, and 99% of the areas are extremely safe. We have never felt unsafe here, whether in unfamiliar areas, city, rural, day, night. We always feel safer. We even accidentally left the door to our house open, not unlocked, like open, all day when we left town one time, and nothing was touched. In Canada, since we've been gone, we had our generator stolen from our property. Canada isn't safe. There's a lot of home invasions, car thefts, and way more violence in Canada. Here we feel safe and secure. And like anywhere, choose neighborhoods wisely. Gated communities are great, and I never thought we'd actually be living in a gated community. I actually kind of like poo-pooed the idea. But the gated communities are the ones with pools and playgrounds that my kids wanted. Also, like 1/3 of the population in this country is under 18 years old. So there are a lot of children to play with. I don't have to worry about them getting hit by a car, walking home because everything's well lit here. I mean, it gets dark at 6 o'clock, so that's still pretty early. Everything's well lit, there are speed bumps, and people don't race down the roads here. So I feel very secure knowing my kids can go play with their friends at the playground and come back without any issues. Now, pro tip, always ask locals or other expats about a specific area that you're looking at maybe renting, or especially if you're going to buy there. This way, they can give you a brief history of the area and let you know if you'll be making a good decision. Also, if you can stay in an Airbnb there first before choosing to rent, or especially buying that location, that would help you see it for yourself, what it'd be like to live there. Number 3 frequently asked question, how much does it cost to live in El Salvador? Cost of living is much lower than in North America or Europe, but it depends on your lifestyle. Rent could be anywhere from like $150 a month to $2,000 a month, depending on location and size. Now, our house we're in now costs $850 a month plus the $35 security fee we use to pay the security guards here. Our other house here was $600. That included the security fee, the house that we were in before we moved here. Utilities and internet around $100, $150, $170, depending on what exactly your circumstance is. Now, our electricity here in this new house last month was $120. That includes 2 air conditioners, hot water heater, and 5 of us living here with laptops and devices going, right? So, and was told by the previous owners, it is around that a month, depending on. Our internet's $33 a month, like $32.98. Our water bill's under $3. If you add in cell phones, like the packages, there's like a $12 monthly package or a $15 monthly package. If you look at those, if you have a family of 5 like we do, you got to add that all up. But if you're like a retired couple, it can be quite inexpensive. You don't need a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house if you're a retired couple, or you got 1 or 2 kids. Now, groceries. It's cheaper if you buy local, pricier if you stick to imported brands. If you go to PriceSmart like we do, you might spend more money because things there are imported. If you buy Super Selectos from the imported area of the store, you're going to pay more for those imported items. If you're buying your fruits and vegetables from your local community or street vendors, it's going to be a lot cheaper. Maybe you find a local butcher, same idea. A family can live pretty comfortably from $1,500 to $2,500 a month. Obviously, if you have more, you spend more. If you have less, you spend less. Rent is a big chunk of that. So if you don't need a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house like us, then you'll pay less. Now, if you looked at my previous videos, you know that I have had a hard time getting to $2,500, but you got to realize we moved here with only so much stuff in the shipping container. We had to buy the furniture, we had to buy the appliances, we had to buy the car. Then we bought other things like these cupboards behind me and other things to make our lives work a little bit better in the house. Like we needed bookshelves to put all the books we bought, right? So if you don't have those things, you don't have to worry. You don't have to spend that kind of money. It really is your lifestyle. I know people that lived here for a couple of years under $1,500 a month and they had a child. So it is possible. It really depends on the lifestyle you want to live when you're here. Now, number 4, frequently asked question. What's healthcare like? Now, there are both public and private healthcare in El Salvador. Public healthcare is free, but it has longer wait times, and perhaps the quality is a bit less. From our own personal experience, we were treated very well with the public care, and the medication was free as well. And the wait times were a lot less than in Canada, because Canada, you could be waiting there maybe 8 hours. Here, 1 to 2 hours, we had already been treated, picked up the medication, and left. It was very fast. And I was at the public one 3 times, so it's not like I never, got to feel the full experience. I did it 3 times. Now, you're going to say, well, the facilities are not in the best condition. The paint's chipped, the floor tiles are chipped, the bathrooms are not clean. I chose not to go to the bathroom when I was there. However, you get to see a doctor, and they get to examine what was wrong. With me, it was those mosquito bites, and with my daughter, it was an allergic reaction on her face. My son had a head cold. They listened to things they need to listen to, heart rate, breathing, whatever, and they gave us the proper medication, and we got treated. So if you're looking for healthcare, they have that, but it's not going to be like the West. I can tell you that right now, and you might be a little disheartened, but it's available, and many, millions of people go there every day, probably, at least, hundreds of thousands. Now, these clinics we went to were called the Faux Salute clinics, just so you know. Now, you can see my video here of my past experience at the public clinics. Now, private hospitals are very modern, affordable, and the doctors often speak English. At the clinics, it'd be really hard to find someone speaking English, so I took my friend Stan with us. But when I went to the private doctor, she spoke perfect English. That's why I picked her, to be honest. I did that video here, actually. Everything in that clinic was like amazing, top notch. Like the equipment was like super modern. Like I thought the chair that I was in for the exam, one of my treatments I had there, that was like, oh my gosh, it's like space age chair. Crazy. I never seen anything so modern in my life. Locals here would find the private care expensive based on the minimum wages here. I paid $70 for that visit, and minimum wage here is like $407 or $12 a month. So yeah, $70 doctor visit would be like almost a week's worth of wages. So you're not going to find as many locals there, but again, there is public health care for local people as well. And if you have the money, and many expats carry some sort of international health insurance, they can afford those private clinics. Now, speaking of health insurance, we never got it. We never bothered to get health insurance. I'd rather put my money aside somewhere else and keep it for the time I actually need to have some medical thing done than give it to an insurance company. I just think, I don't know. I don't like insurance companies. It's my opinion. You do whatever you like with that information, but I'd rather keep my money aside somewhere else where it can gain interest or something in a savings account than to just dump it into an insurance company when I may never use it. So that's my personal experience. Frequently asked question number 5. Do I need to speak Spanish? Not strictly, but it does make life much easier. Now, I told you about going to the clinic. I didn't speak enough Spanish to explain my medical condition, so we always took Stan with us to the clinic so they could, he could translate for us. I still use Google Translate a lot, but sometimes the translation isn't good. I had this discussion the other day with the paint guy at Friend. I was looking to put oil paint on my doors in my house because I think the paint on there is oil because I took acetone and I wiped it. It seemed like that's oil paint. I asked him for a good quality oil paint for my doors. And when you go to Friend to get paint, they give you like a barcode, you go pay for it, and then you come back to the paint counter to get your paint. So he's mixing it up and he brings over a can, puts on the counter, and it says latex. And I was, telling him that it's going to peel off. It's not going to stick. I was trying to describe how latex would not be a good paint to use. And he kept saying, is it for wood? I said, well, yeah, the doors are wood. And he said, no, this is the paint. He told me that what I was saying in the translation when I said oil paint was like you have a painting and you're painting an oil paint. I don't know if the word translated well. Like I think it's an oleo, and that was for oil paint, but like oil, like coconut oil or whatever is like aceite. So I don't know if it just didn't translate well, but I end up with latex paint. So we'll see how that works with the doors. But again, it just doesn't translate all the time. And even at school meetings and stuff, I put the translator on. I'm like, there is so much slang being spoken here. It's just not translating well. So you can't always rely on that. So it's really good to get some key phrases down so that you can ask for things like, especially directions. When we first moved here, telling the Uber driver to turn left or right on a certain spot in your gated community or wherever you're staying to get to your Airbnb, that's super important. Or knowing your colors, When we first stayed here, we had an orange house, so I just tell them it was the orange house, on the right or whatever. So it's really important to have some of these phrases down, especially if you're trying to get back to a place like your Airbnb. If you're asking if you have like a monument or a statue, know what the name of that is. Is it near that? Or is it left of that or right of that? These are really important phrases to kind of narrow down. Like you can have a cheat sheet with you if you want, if you don't always rely on your cell phone. It's a good idea. Now, If you go to really touristy areas or really Bitcoin friendly areas, you're going to find way more people speaking English because that's where the foreigners are coming and typically they speak English. But learning Spanish phrases, like for the common things like I said, especially if you're just coming here and learning your directions, but stuff about shopping, like how much does it cost and where can I buy something, like where can I buy my fresh fruit or something. Learning about banking when you want to get a bank account or get money out of a bank machine, knowing how to ask for the cajeros or whatever. Like you need a few phrases kind of down just for your everyday life. It makes life a lot easier. And if you have to go to a clinic or something like that, you'll need to learn things like it hurts here. My elbow hurts, like learn a few basic things like that. If you don't have those, you're just going to feel a bit more lost, and you don't have to because you can learn Spanish on many, many apps. Like we learned Duolingo for 2 years before we even moved here. Willem and I did anyway, not everyone did. And I had like the family plan with that one, and you could do that, but we didn't renew the last time because they got super woke. There's Practica, it's an AI one I was using. There's just all kinds of different language apps out there. Just do some research on them. Look up some maybe YouTube videos to see what people review them as, like if they're good or bad or whatever, and mix it all together. There's actually YouTube videos on there. We were learning Spanish with the kids, like numbers and letters and the months of the year and the seasons and animals. And there's all kinds of videos on YouTube just to learn Spanish for real basic stuff. It's best to try to get a little bit under your belt before you come. It isn't completely necessary, but we're still learning as we go. It's getting better. Poco. Number 6 frequently asked question. Can I buy property as a foreigner? Yes, foreigners have the same property rights as locals. Popular areas to buy property in are San Salvador, which if you like the city life, that's the place to go. La Libertad, if you want the surf and the coast or the mountains, like Ataco. Always use a good lawyer and double check land titles. I cannot stress this enough. I want to tell you a little tale. When we came here on a scouting trip, we asked our Airbnb host if he knew anyone selling land, and he made a call. And there was someone that he knew selling some land. Now, this was literally like the day before we were leaving. So our very good friend, Stan, and now our driver for our business, he went out to visit this land, and he also took some videos for us, and we did a video call on it. Now, I asked some expats for like a really good lawyer, and they gave me one that was great. As this land purchase decision was made, we started learning more of the story. So let me first give you a little history lesson about El Salvador. El Salvador went through a terrible time with civil war and then gang violence. If you, for example, owned a nice house, piece of land, or a finca, a gang member, or even a corrupt politician who wanted that land could just say, get off the land, it now belongs to me. And the people would, for fear of their lives, give them this land. Now, I also assume sometimes this land was taken by force and lives were lost. So fast forward to 2023. There's a lady in the USA who has a piece of land. Not exactly sure how big it is, and it's not in her name to sell. Ding, 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 ding. Red flags going up. It is also apparently not in the name of her family either. So if you go to get the land title, I think it's called the CNR, if I'm not mistaken, you'll see that somebody else owns this land. And they may or may not want to sell it to me or anyone, and they certainly do not want the proceeds of the sale to go to the crooks who stole it from them in the first place. So always, always, always get a trusted lawyer to handle these matters. You could lose all your money and get no land in return because it wasn't theirs to sell in the first place. So please be aware of that. Number 7, what about driving and transportation? It's not needed for residency, however, this is good to know. If you plan on driving here, your current foreign driver's license is only good for 3 months or 90 days. So you need to get your driver's license apostilled in your home country. We did ours at the Canadian Embassy, so that is an option as well, in order to get your Salvadorian driver's license. Or you'll need to redo all the testing and everything in Spanish. Now, this is true even if you are a citizen here by birth or inheritance, if you do not get a driver's license from here already. Now, as in, for example, you moved away when you're 5 years old and you grew up in the United States. And then you acquired a driver's license in the United States. And then you moved back here, you need to get the United States driver's license apostilled so that you can get your Salvadorian driver's license without having to redo all of the testing. Now, roads are improving here. Like I talk about our highway here all the time under construction, but getting better. Like every day it's different. But traffic, especially in San Salvador, can be intense. It's more than the Don Valley Parkway at rush hour in Toronto. It can be crazy. And it's always construction season here because it's always summer. So cars are affordable and gas is cheaper than North America. And we have Uber that's widely available. There's also InDrive and Bit Driver. There are options. And if you're not a very aggressive driver, you may find it very intimidating to drive here as we did for like the first 6 months we lived here. I've since adapted, and I am as aggressive as the rest of them now. But if you're not up for that challenge, we have started a company giving tours, airport pickups, taking you anywhere you want to go in the country, basically, with our good friend Stan as the driver, and he's fully bilingual. So we got you covered there. You can take a screenshot of this poster here or save it for your future trip to El Salvador. Number 8, frequently asked question, what's the internet like? Can I work remotely? The internet here is amazing. Actually, it's better than our Starlink in Canada. We lived in the rural area of Canada, and all we had was really Starlink. We had a couple other ones which were even worse, but Starlink wasn't that great. So here we have Tigo, but there's also Claro, and I think we'll probably have fiber optics here because I think there's quite a bit of fiber optics around. I'm not positive, but we have really good internet here. And we don't even have like the biggest internet package. Now, power outages do happen. So, if you're a digital nomad, you might need like a hotspot from your phone as a backup. But, our power usually goes out for about 1 to 2 minutes every few months. It just happened to go out the other day when we were talking to somebody on a video call and I had to like tether to my phone. So I had the backup. We're fine. The power came back on. It was about a minute after it went off. And of course, then the router has to reset. It takes a couple minutes for that. The only time we had a power outage was when they planned it, when we had that landslide and they had to redo some work there and they had to take the lines down and bring them back up again. So they did like a full day, sort of like an 8 to 4 kind of power outage that day. But other than that, actually, we've lost less power here than we had in Canada. That's interesting. I never thought of it that way, but yeah. I remember we had a 36-hour power outage in Canada, and I had these little devices in the fridge and freezer to monitor the temperature, and they did pretty good, actually. Our fridge and freezer worked really well. Even after 36 hours, we didn't lose anything, but we never have that here. Like, no, we never lose power for 36 hours, not even 36 minutes. Like, it's like literally 1 or 2 minutes. Like, it just flickers off, and then you're like going through like the buffer of your video stream or whatever that you're watching, whatever you're doing right now. And then by the time the video buffer ends, the power comes back on, then you can wait for the router to reset and then reload the rest of your video you're watching, whatever. It doesn't go off very much here. Number 9, is El Salvador really Bitcoin friendly? Yes and no. Bitcoin is no longer legal tender here, which means that you cannot pay your taxes with it. But the only place I was impacted by the whole Bitcoin law changing was with Tigo. Tigo no longer lets you pay Bitcoin with the app for a refill on my phone or the internet, I guess. So I still use Bitcoin at PriceSmart every time I go, and the fee is like 30 cents. And then they reimburse you the fee. So actually, I guess it's nothing. You can still use it at Super Selectos, Dollar City, or Walmart. Just make sure that when they put the transaction through the machine, that they use Lightning and not on-chain, because as a foreigner, you don't have a Chivo wallet. And sometimes that confuses the clerk and they don't know which button to press. They have 4 buttons to press. One is for the Chivo wallet, which you don't have. The other one says Lightning and one is for on-chain. I don't know what the other one is. But a couple times I've gotten hit with the on-chain. They put on-chain and I had my Lightning wallet and I end up with a huge fee, like $10, $12. And then it takes a long time to go through too. So just make sure they press the right button, and it works pretty seamlessly when they do it. Like I've had one time it didn't work at PriceSmart. I don't know if the network was down or something, but I've always been able to use it at PriceSmart except that one time. And we've gone a lot over the last year. So I feel pretty good about that. And I used it at Freyand also when I bought some of my paint. My first thing of paint was done from Bitcoin. So yeah, still use it pretty much everywhere you want to go. Like this is sort of a cash-based society still. So you're going to find all your little street vendors and my vegetable lady or whatever. They're going to use cash, right? That's cash is king here. However, restaurants, hotel, motel, anything in the mall, basically, they're going to have a machine to take debit and credit cards also. So you're not stuck. If you want to be here just for Bitcoin, maybe, we have the most Bitcoin in this country, but if that's the only reason for coming, probably don't bother coming. If you're coming here for other things like the lifestyle and whatever, yeah, come. Bitcoin is just a bonus on top of that. And the number 10 frequently asked question about El Salvador is, what is the culture like? Now, Salvadorians are warm, family-oriented, and very welcoming. They always greet you with a smile and say buenos dias or buenas tardes, depending on the time of the day, and they're always happy to meet you. Food is centered around pupusas, beans, rice, fresh seafood, chicken, tropical fruit, and my favorite is ceviche. So if you're ever going to come visit and you want to bring me something special, I'd love some ceviche. There's also lots of festivals and fireworks and soccer or football, as they call it here. That's a really big part of daily life in this country. And they do holidays well here. It's not, tranquilo. It's not calm like North America. It's like full on, music and dancing and fireworks, lots and lots of fireworks. It is amazing. The people here have treated us so well. I know that one of our security guards at the gate where we take our deliveries, I call up when I'm getting like a food order or whatever order's coming in. And every time we're going in or out, if he sees me, he'll wave and he tries to say our last name. Hagenaars, like he recognized us. And one time when I called about a delivery the other day, he said something like, "Have a good day." And he's like, I said it like he's learning English or something, and he's just using us as the guinea pigs. And it was like, I don't know, they just treat us really nice here. I've never felt this kind of warm, welcoming feeling. Not in Canada. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was going to get the fruit and vegetables for the first time for the lady in our community, her house was number 9. Now, I didn't see the house number. I just saw house 8. So I didn't know if 9 was to the left or the right. So I saw the left. The door was open. So I just walked up to the door and I go, "Hola." And I was looking for the fruits and vegetables, right? And there's a lady sitting on her sofa. She goes, "Oh, how are you? And how can I help you?" Like, she's just so nice. And I was like, right at her house. She said, "Come on in." And I came in and I'm like, okay, this is not the right place. I said, "I was looking for the fruits and vegetables." She says, "Oh, that's 2 doors down." And she spoke English, which was even funnier. But she just greeted me like we're old friends. And I kept thinking, do I already know this woman? Like, she's treating me so nice. I felt like we must have met somewhere, but I couldn't remember. But anyway, that's just how people are here. It's not like that in Canada. You don't like just walk up to someone's door in Canada. They're like, "What are you doing on my property? Get out," or "Gosh, don't do that in the city. I might get shot." I'm just saying, it's really different here. So that's the quick FAQ on moving to El Salvador. I have a couple bonus tips here for FAQs. Not that they're necessarily frequently asked, but they're frequently not known. Most places here do not have hot water. It is a luxury here, not a guarantee. But it's not freezing cold water. We lived like a whole year in that other house with no hot water and nobody stopped showering. That wasn't the thing. And after a really hot day, honestly, you like to be cooled off with that cool water. Another thing is you cannot flush toilet paper down pretty much every toilet in this country. And also just note, in some public bathrooms, the toilet paper is outside the stall. You have to grab it on your way in. And I want to say toilet seats are a luxury in some public bathrooms, just FYI. And you don't drink the tap water here. Nobody drinks tap water here. I don't know. I had a bath yesterday and I'm like, oh, that actually smells like a lot of chlorine in the water. Normally, I don't smell chlorine in the water. I wasn't sure if we had chlorine in the water. I think they are chlorinated in the water, but I wouldn't say that's guaranteed to killing all the microbes and everything. Drink bottled water. That's your safest bet, or, fruit juices or something else. Those are just 3 extra tips I like to add. No hot water, don't flush the toilet paper down the toilet, and don't drink the tap water. If you're coming to visit, keep those things in mind. And I'll throw in a cautionary note about be careful of people scamming you, because if they see you're a foreigner, even if you're a diaspora, they can either hear your accent isn't, authentic, you don't have all the slang down pat, or they know you've been away and they know you're maybe coming with more dollars that you could afford to spend on something. Just be careful of people scamming you. Always ask others, "Do you think that's a good deal if I buy this from this guy? Because, I'm not sure I'm getting ripped off or not." That's always good to ask questions. It's a beautiful country full of opportunities, culture, and sunshine. And if you're serious about making the move, do your research. Visit first. I always suggest a scouting trip. Connect with other expats who are already here. There's lots of groups, Facebook, Telegram. And I have my own WhatsApp group. If you want to join our WhatsApp group, send me an email to youtube@hagenaars.com and I will add you to that list. We also do a Monday call where we just hang out and chill and talk about all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's people on there like us that live here, people who are like on the way moving back, people just moved here, I guess, and also people just looking to plan a scouting trip, or maybe they're just contemplating the idea of basically uprooting their whole lives and moving to this beautiful country. Also, if you're thinking about coming to El Salvador with pets, I have this whole video on bringing your pets here, so check that out. So I've done that one already. And if you're interested in looking for stuff about child education or where's the best places to live, it's really good to join these expat communities, because there are way more people out there have lots more opinions than I do about that. And I could tell you one thing based on my preferences, and they could tell you one thing based on their preferences. So it's really good to get engaged in these communities. Again, if you want to join our community, send me an email with your WhatsApp number and I'll add you, and you can ask all your questions there. It's amazing. We're all here just supporting each other. We're doing that Monday night call just to chill and hang out, but really we're just passing on information, especially about, a lot of people here have hired like local plumbers or a roofer or electrician, and then they give you their experience and if you'd hire that guy ever again or not. And we're just going to pass that information around, because those things are really important when you do decide to move here, or anything at all, anything under the sun. So just ask questions. Doesn't hurt to ask questions. There is no stupid questions. So again, if you'd like to join us in our group, check the description below for our Monday night calls, or send me your WhatsApp information in an email. If you're interested in supporting our channel, we have a membership option. If you check the subscribe plus button below. If you're already subscribed to the channel, it'll say subscribe plus. For the membership, you can check that out. And if you can support us, that's great. See you in the next one.
Don't forget to hit the like button.